Of course, there were plenty other wildlings my age in the kindred circle. There was Corey, the son of my father's older brother Rathos. He was wiry and wild in his youth, with a mouth as large as his face, it seemed. His was a warm and vibrant spirit, and in time the sun itself became his symbol. There was also Pole and Cass, twin brothers of my mother's sister Kael. The two were really one unstoppable force, divided between two thick-haired, brown-eyed boys. Where these two were found, mischief was soon to follow. They were adventurous and fun, despite their meddlesome nature. Though we were reluctant to participate in most of their endeavors, Corey and I were rarely far behind them, enjoying the fun from aside and stepping in to help whenever they met trouble. As a wildling, I was intently listening to the words of the elders. By way of stories, they shared valuable teachings and lessons, though most were told simply to entertain. My grandfathers made sure we were well exposed to philosophy and reason, thinking up new riddles and puzzles for us to solve before our parents returned each day. The women of Reisenbow were the first to return from their labors, arriving in the early evening, bringing with them fruits, vegetables, and grains. My mother returned among these members of the Divide, carrying her basket perfectly balanced upon her head. She wore it like a crown, grace in her step. I was never late to greet her upon return, running to her side excitedly. The hunters would return soon after, with fresh kills cleaned and ready to be prepared for the evening feast. My father would stomp up to us, boasting of the bounty. Kael often teased him that his symbol should be a cock rather than a bear. With my parents' return came time for more play and exciting stories of what we saw out in the world that day. Mother would tell of eagles swooping down and plucking shimmering fish out of the Veil Spring. Father would tell of the beasts of the field and the thrill of the hunt. My stories were those of a wildling, telling of the many-colored birds and insects I'd encountered in the day's adventures. Play was an essential part of life in the village. Eventually my parents would grow tired of stick fighting and the like, and take their leave to have a rest with the elders. I would eventually run off to join the other wildlings, playing all sorts of fun games, wreaking havoc throughout the brush. With the wildlings away, the center of the village was readied for the evening feast that would end each day in Reisenbow. Everyone contributed to the evening feast in some way or another, even the youngest. The oldest wildlings would be given the task of collecting fruits and berries along the edge of the village. It was a simple task, more for keeping wildlings busy than anything else, but it was a task that inspired envy among the younger wildlings. They willfully tagged along, eager for the day they would be given the woven baskets to return them, brimming with squished berries for all. Once it was time to return, a horn was sounded. The elder children of Reisenbow would filter in from all directions, it seemed, from the fields, the forest, and even the canopy. They too were summoned by the call of the horn, and helped collect and guide the wildlings to the center along their way. The evening feast was truly wonderful. All manner of roasted meats, vegetables, breads, fruits, and even sweet cakes were passed between the circles of families. The smell of food saturated the air, churning tiny stomachs everywhere. The entire tribe was present, making the center wonderfully crowded with family. The sound of warm brotherly voices and laughter filled the village as the fires burned into the night. At the heart of the village was a great open area with a large stone circle, where a great pyre burned during tribal gatherings. Once they had eaten their fill, people of all ages would gradually make their way to this center. There was song and dance, as the light from the large fire lit the night every bit as bright as the sounds of laughter that flickered above the music. Sometimes the elders would speak here, for all to hear. They would also present any newly born, name and house for all to celebrate. When it became late, we would bid our farewells for the night and return to our hut. There, by the light of the fire, my father would give in to my pleas for more stories, and tell of the various figures and creatures depicted in the etchings of his bow. We always sat close and warm around the fire, bathed in its soft light as he spoke. Story time was my favorite time, and my mother loved it just as well. My father thrived on the attention, though his art of storytelling was nowhere near the caliber of the elders. New stories would come, and his etchings grew to cover the bow entirely over the years, though some of the stories were not so kind to memory. I would ask to hear another, and another, until I woke to a new day. I recall waking one chilly winter morning, and as we lay there my mother shared a lesson through the soft glow of the waning coals. They were remnants of a strong fire that had kept us warm and safe through the cold winter night. Though it lay weak and all but burned out, its strength could easily be rekindled to its former glory. It was a symbol of purpose and endurance, as it would soon heat our breakfast and warm our home. Her words came soft just behind my ear as I lay on the soft furs with the smell of her hair all around me. The flame in you is just as strong, my son, and just like the flame, you will rise with the morning light to greet each new day with all the strength of Reisenbow. These words became a mantra for me, held dear to my heart and soul. No matter the darkness, I would rise. Such was my life as a wildling, a life of love and plenty. I was born on the fruits of victory, in an age of great prosperity for the Divide. In the years that followed, however, it seemed I would grow into an age of great loss.